Yeah, good evening, everyone. I never thought one day, 50 years later, I will be addressing all my colleagues this way. It's a very nostalgic feeling. And when I stood first in 1973, that I was 15, maybe 16-year-old, I think, yes. In my interview in the newspaper, I have given that I want to become specialist in brain and I want to become a surgeon. And I'm happy that I could pursue that even after so many years. And the only reason was my strong feeling that I must know the brain and the mind. My strong feeling was the brain is the most important organ. And the heart is like a pump. But the fuse, the brain, is something which everybody wants to know. So I said, what better way than to go in and dig into the brain and know what various parts of the brain represent and what happens when we use these parts. Now coming to my introduction, why me? Why a scientific person is talking on the mind? I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Is the vision okay for you, the presentation, or we need to put the lights? Okay. It's fine. Yeah. So, when I started in 1973-74, I was interested in meditation. There was nothing in yoga in Goa that time. Hardly anybody would teach yoga, meditation. Nothing was there. So I did my MBBS in 1979 from GMC, and then I went to Bombay for neurosurgery because there was no neurosurgery education in Goa Medical College. So I went there and we had to do 10 hours, 12 hours, even 16 hours operation at a time. Those times were very, very difficult. I used to go in the theater sometime at 7 o'clock in the morning without breakfast. I was in a hostel, you know, you may imagine in 1979-80 what was the condition in Bombay. And starting at 7 o'clock in the morning till 12 midnight, one single operation would go. I would assist my head of the department, professor, standing position without my breakfast, lunch or dinner, and cannot go to the washroom. You know, because anything, it was very important that we don't get any infection for the patient. So such days I passed, and I never knew the neurosurgery was something so tough. But when tough things actually teach you so many things in life. So I carried on through it, and we use microscope which magnifies your vision 30 times. So you can make out, if your hand is like this, 30 times vision it will be like this. You know, the tremors. And you won't be able to even focus and hold the forceps on. And even if you touch brainstem, 3 millimeter, 4 millimeter, here and there, the patient is gone. So I wanted to do meditation from that time onwards so that I have a control on my hand. But nothing was possible. I finished it. In 1995, I went to Dubai. You know, 1990 in fact. And 1995, I had a first initiation into meditation. And it was transcendental meditation, TM meditation. Maharishi from US and his disciples had come. The irony was they were in the 5-star hotel. We went there and they were all foreigners. They came with the Krishna photograph and Ganapati photograph, made us sit there and they essence sticks and all they burned. And then they gave the mantra in our ear. We have to recite that mantra to do the meditation. You know, there's something which is which we should be teaching them. They were teaching us, and during that time there was not even 5% of what awareness we have about our traditional yoga meditation over there. So they gave us, and it really helped us. And my wife actually had a high thyroid. She did this, within 3 months the thyroid came to normal. So I was convinced that something, it is all blood tests were normal after 3 months only. I was really fascinated with it. I did it mainly for my hand control. Now before this meditation and mind control, I used to go in the theater after 10 hours. We used to just feel like falling on the operation theater itself. But after doing this, you look at the watch, it is 8 o'clock, and you finish the operation, it's 6 o'clock in the evening. Even then, you have not felt anything. The time just passed like that. So, the background why I gave was then I went into art of living. Then I went into the Sadhguru's inner engineering. Then I did Vipassana course also. That was in UK. I was in UK, Herefordshire. And there were out of 100 people, 90 people were foreigners. Only 10 were Indians there. 10-day course, teaching you for 100 hours. 10 hours a day you have to do meditation. So they were thoroughly, they grind you and they teach you meditation in such a way, the rest of the life you will never forget that time. So, why this is not a spiritual topic? I wanted to do various organizations to see what is in each. Because now there is, in India, there is sort of a cult formation. This is my organization, this is the way I do it, and this is the only way to do it. There is nothing like it. There are 10 different ways to skin a cat. Everybody has a different way to do it. I think we have to welcome, and I came to a situation where I formed my own way of doing the meditation and going into complete samadhi and trance. And I now do last 10 years, I have to get up at 3:30 in the morning and do the meditation. I cannot just be sleeping at 3:30, 4 o'clock maximum. So I do it about 1.5 hours or so. Without that, there is absolutely no peace of mind. So having had this background, I thought this is something which people would like to know personally from me, who has handled so many brains, maybe 5,000 brain operations. And what is it, the mind, where is it in brain or outside the brain? And how do we come to this conclusion? That where is the mind? Now for many people, mind and brain are synonymous, but it's not like that. The mind and the brain is like a final common pathway. It's like a bulb, and the mind is like a fuse. And we may get the cells in the brain, different cells causing this final common motor pathway or sensory pathway, which will do the activity, but actually the fuse is somewhere else. And where is that? Now if you see, can you see this?
Lord.
Not crazy.
Just read it. From your this.
You can read, no? I myself cannot read.
Blood, no? Blood.
Not background.
Yeah.
This you can read,
The
right?
light should be.
Lights off करिया हाँ क्या क्या है ना
What is that?
Can you magnify letters?
Yeah, okay, what are
Can you
you?
magnify?
Magnify.
हाँ तक sharpness ना
So what is the mind? Mind is a combination of thoughts, feelings, intelligence, memory, and ego. That is the self-identity. Now, what are these thoughts? Without thoughts, there is no mind. Thoughts are just fleeting communication that we get in the brain. There is no place in the brain for thoughts. Thoughts are something which we don't even know where the thoughts are, and they are not in any part of our body. They may even be outside our body. Now, where are the feelings? Now, feelings are somewhere like, if you see the limbic system of the brain, the feelings are into the limbic system. And if you see amygdala or hippocampus, the feelings like rage, anger, and memory also is hippocampus. So this is the brain. If you stimulate, the cat can go into the aggression. We are all can know the. I think Professor Godke, at Goa Medical College, when certain part of the animals are shifted, they would just, get aggressive. But this is just the final pathway, like a bulb. We don't know where the fuse is. Intelligence of a person. It is said the intelligence is in the grey matter. But we have had cases of hydrocephalus where 95% of the brain is water and the cortex is thin mental. whereas it is around 2 centimeters. In this patient, it's around 2 millimeters. Still, there have been mathematical genius in these people. So it is not just only the gray matter cells, very important. They even studied Einstein's brain. They found no change in his brain cell, except that the parietal region was little bit more expanded than other, but otherwise nothing. Memory, where is memory? Memory is hippocampus. If you stimulate, you get various memories. But by itself, hippocampus, it doesn't store the memories. Like if you operate and remove the hippocampus, that doesn't mean the memory of a person will disappear. It doesn't go like that. Ego or self-identity, we don't know where the ego comes from. Self-identity, it's for our preservation. I'm not talking of the malignant ego, but the normal ego where we identify ourselves. Now this is the limbic system. Now this area, if you see, there is this amygdala body which is green. This is hippocampus, and then there is all this area. This is the brain which is dealt with emotions. This is the brain which is doing a motor and sensory activity. Occipital cortex showing you the images, cerebellum for balancing, and brainstem for consciousness, final common pathway. So this is the brain which deals with emotions. So now I showed you these two images. This is the picture of a cortex and subcortical matter. If you see, this dark thing is the water in the brain. It's hardly any water there. And if you see this hydrocephalus patient, entire brain is water. And this particular thickness, which should be brain, is just a thin mental cortex, hardly 1 or 2 millimeters, where it's almost 5 to 6 millimeters over here. In spite of such people are noted to be mathematical genius and high intelligence. So it is not just what we think that the intelligence is physical. It is not. It is metaphysical, which is beyond the physical needs. Now if you see the mind, this is the anatomy of anxiety, again I told you. And this is the functional MRI. If you feel happy, this MRI, these areas in the brain light up. If you feel sad, deeper areas light up. So these emotions in the brain are recorded. These part of the brain are for motor function. This is for hand movement. This is for sensations. This is for occipital, for seeing. And this temporal is for taste and for memory. This cerebellum is for balancing. Now if you see this part, we all have evolved. Our brain is evolved like we ourselves have evolved. We have 3 types of brain in our own brain. One is a lizard brain, and second is a mammal brain, and third is a human brain. Now, this lizard brain is brainstem and cerebellum. This is the only brain developed in lizards and snakes and reptiles. That's why they have got very small head. Now this is the one which only reacts by autopilot, fight or flight. There is nothing else. They either want to survive and procreate to propagate their species and survive. So when the enemy is bigger, they will fly. When the enemy is smaller, they will fight. So this is like a chemical reaction in response to what comes in front of you. The next one is a mammal brain where the limbic system is added, as I showed you just some time back. So to this lizard brain, we add mammal brain up to chimpanzees and monkeys. So they will have emotions, memories, habits and attachments. You know how much attachment a chimpanzee or a gorilla has for a baby, you can make out. But they won't have language, abstract thought, imagination, consciousness, reasoning and rationalizing. This we have because of the addition of the neocortex. There is almost 80% of our brain. So this is how the brain is evolved. Now mind is energy and it generates energy through thinking. With our mind we can create positive or negative energy around us. It is thinking, feeling and choosing, without which the physical brain and body would be useless. That means we are our mind, and mind in action is how we generate energy in the brain. Now these sentences are very important, so I just quoted them so that I don't miss anything when I talk. When we generate this mind energy through thinking, feeling, we build thoughts which make changes in proteins of our brain. So there are changes in the protein. These proteins are stored in the cells of the brain. This building of thought creates structural changes, which is called neuroplasticity. Now, the mind is a stream of non-conscious and conscious activity when we are awake, stream of non-conscious activity when we are asleep. So there is conscious activity when we are awake, there is only non-conscious activity when we are sleeping. And it is characterized by thinking, feeling and choosing. When you think, you will feel. And when you think and feel, you will choose. So these three aspects go together. When you learn how to manage your mind, you can make feelings of depression, stress, anger and anxiety work for you instead of against you. You can bring balance back into your brain and life. Now, why is science and spirituality to study mind? Why particularly mind needs spirituality? Everything else can be studied by science. Because mind is not a tangible substance to study scientifically. Can only be studied by deep contemplation during meditation, going deep in your self. Science doesn't understand consciousness. There is no way science understands consciousness. That's why artificial intelligence is without consciousness. When that happens, the human beings will be cloned. In science, mind division is conscious and subconscious. There is no other division they know of. It doesn't cover ego, intelligence and memory part. Mind is not just localized to brain, it is everywhere, and mind is non-local. Now why science and spirituality in mind again? Let's go to quantum physics and spirituality. I think some of you may be more experts in this than me, but I just take liberty to know, to express myself, to see how these physics has led to spirituality. Even Einstein said at the end of his scientific pursuit, he reached spirituality. Quantum physics tells us that the universe is non-local. Something can be both wave and particle in quantum physics, isn't it? And this wave and particle, when the people observe it, two observers can see the same thing. One can see it as a wave, other can see it as a particle. Object can be two places at once. One object can be in two places. That's quantum physics, which we have only read in mythology, isn't it? It may lead us towards a multiverse. There are many more universes, and these are connected by what you call as, there is the
Ether.
Yeah, these are connected by pathways. No? We have, and you from one universe, they say you can go to another universe. Now, something like quantum entanglement, which is described by Einstein as a spooky action at a distance. That means if there are two electrons or two objects which separate and go to distant places, if you affect one object, same thing will be seen by another object or electron at a distance. It can be millions of. So if you manipulate one object, same reaction is seen in the other object. Now Max Planck said, I regard consciousness as fundamental and I regard matter as a derivative of consciousness. That is Max Planck. It means all consciousness condensed densely is a matter, and matter which is rarefied is consciousness. Now, atoms are in constant state of motion, and depending on the speed of these atoms, things appear as solid, liquid, or gas. Sound is also a vibration, and so are thoughts. So, what are solids? Solids are where the atoms are condensed. In liquid, they are at a distance from each other, and gas, they are at much more further. And gas can expand and fill the whole room. Sound is a vibration, thoughts are vibration. Even what we see, objects and colors are vibration. There are actually no colors, what we see, red, black, or green. There are nothing like that. It is just the reflection of the electromagnetic spectrum of the light which reflects a particular frequency. All the rest are absorbed. Like a blue shirt will reflect blue waves. It will absorb other waves. So if you see, we can see a certain wavelength only. Like sound, we can only hear from 20 to 20,000 megahertz. And vision also is very limited. You can't see infrared and ultraviolet. So it is seen that the child for the first 3 months only sees black and white images. It does not see color. A cat or a dog the cat sees 4 colors and 2 colors, and dog sees only 4 colors. It's like that. So as the evolutionary progress goes on, we see more and more colors. We see 7 colors and the combinations of it. In extreme meditation, if you do 1.5, 2 hours and all, you will see hundreds of different colors which you have never seen in life. Now you will not believe. I will not talk anything which I have not experienced, because then it will become just a lecture copied from somewhere. You can see colors which you have never seen in front of you in your vision. So they are there, just that we don't know. So there are fellows who are completely enlightened. They see the world in a totally different way. They see you as a vibratory body. Like quantum physics, they never tells you why, but then you will say this is existing. How can you say that this is not existing? This is existing, but if you see 99.9% of the atom is space. All matter 99.9% space. Now, if it is solid, I cannot penetrate this. Previously, we used to say, because it is solid, I cannot penetrate it. It's not like that. You cannot penetrate it, not because it is solid. The electron of your hand is repelling the electron of this desk. That is why you cannot. This is the new theory now, which is come up. Now, everything, this was in one of the conferences in the age of enlightenment, when quantum intuition was explained. Everything is energy, energy connects everything, energy carries information. The past, present and future all exist simultaneously. An energetic being, we have access to the past, present and future. At any time, any point in time via energy, it all connects. So it's that for us, always past has happened, 1973 has happened long time back. It's not like, it is all a continuation. And there are people who see this as continuation. Now if they tell us this, we will not believe it. Because whatever we don't see ourselves, we never believe it. Now quantum physics tells us that nothing that is observed is unaffected by the observer. That statement from science holds an enormous and powerful insight. It means everything you see is a different truth, because everyone is creating what they see. All of us see a different world. The way our vibration and our mind is, we see a different world, and it is observer dependent, which they have already proved. Observation of light waves, either one sees a wave, other person will see is as a particle. The same particle can be seen as 2 different things. Now this usually is not known to us, and we just think it is something vague. Now why science and spirituality? Again, what we say is pertaining to the double slit experiment. If you all know double slit experiment, the same light one person sees as wave, other person sees as particle, and when it passes through a slit, it's a wave. But moment you start observing, it turns into So the manifested world, what we see, all depends on our own mind, how we, in what condition we see. See, for a depressed person, whole world is depressing, isn't it? For an enthusiastic person, whole world, like when we were small children, 5 year, 6 year, 8 year old, early morning, we never wanted to sleep. We wanted to get up at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning only to see something which is like every day was a new day. Why? Our mind was fresh. Your mind was not dogmatic and ego was not added to it. All the other layers were not there. So manifested world is what you see it. In quantum entanglement, there is evidence how two observers of time can observe an object moving through time, and because of their perspective, observe different things at exact same time, which I already explained to you. Now what did Einstein say? He said the soul given to each of us is moved by the same spirit that moves the universe. I like to experience the universe as one harmonious whole. Every cell has life, matter too has life, it is energy solidified. So matter is energy solidified. These are all the quotes by Einstein. The basic laws of universe are simple, but because our senses are limited, we cannot grasp them. There is a pattern in creation. If we look at this tree outside, those roads that beneath the pavement for water, or a flower which sends its sweet smell to the pollinating ones, etc. So he said it's a creative force, some people call it God, that is escaping all. This is not written in the books. That one has to get only with experience. The soul given to each of us is moved by the same living spirit that moves the universe. Now coming to Max Planck. Max Planck is the one who got Nobel Prize for Energy Quantum Research 1918. He says there is no matter as such. It originates and exists only by virtue of a force bringing particles of atom to vibration and holds their minute solar system together. We must assume behind this force there is a conscious and intelligent mind, and this mind is the matrix of all matter. Now in metaphysical concept, where is the mind coming from? Now we are all, if you see this diagram, if you see, initially there is Purusha and Prakriti. This Purusha is the consciousness and Prakriti is the manifested, unmanifested world. When this consciousness affects the unmanifested world, Mahat is the manifested, cosmic intelligence. First element is the Mahat. There are 25 elements in all. Next one, then the Buddhi is formed, and then the ego is formed. Buddhi comes in a child. Child is not egoistic, but child has enough intelligence to cry when it is hungry. Something about is wet, it will cry. So ego will come later. These are all fibers that come one by one. Now these give rise to 5 senses of organs and 5 motor organs. Why 5 senses? Sensory organs are ears, skin, eyes, nose and tongue. With this we get all the information. The 5 motor organs which are there, the mouth, the hands, leg, genital, through which we express. So we get sensory information and we express. These are from the ahankar or ego. In the 5 tanamatras we have sound, touch, vision, smell and speech. These give rise to 5 gross elements, Panchamahamrita. So if you see these, they give rise to ether, air, fire, water and earth. From these Panchamahamrita only the entire manifested world is formed. Now if you see this, what is the action taken by man? The chitta. So where is this chitta? Chitta is full of your past life memories and everything that you have done throughout generation. You might have taken 100 lives. All impressions are stored in this chitta. This is actually the main mind, what we call. From these, chitta, we get impression. These are samskaras. These impressions then later on are retrieved as vasanas. Okay. So what we see particular things. We want to do something like this. Suppose you see some nice burger, you want to eat it. In spite of the intelligence telling you that it is not good for you, but that comes as a vasana from samskara. You just feel that this is all there in our mind, and the vrittis are the ones which arise from there. What are vrittis? Vrittis are positive or negative. I want to do something, I like something, or I dislike something. Our human mind is full of these. I only what we like, we are appreciate. Somebody appreciates, somebody criticizes us, we don't like. So these are two, and through which our karma, then we decide what to do depending on what information we get from this. Now suppose if you see this is a better place to show mind, this chitta is a lake of vrittis. Whenever we see something, it arises. So this is some green is a positive, I like this. The red is something I don't like this. I like this person, I don't like this person. Something you just decide. And other ones are neutral. So these are the patterns, these are conditioned pattern in our brain. We just instantly behave according to what conditioning we have. Now if you see, this is something. Now there is hormonal control of human body and mind. If you see this, let's go to this. This is the scientific. These are the gonads, prostate, adrenal gland, thymus, thyroid, pituitary, pineal. These are all called as ductless glands. They don't have any duct. They all release hormones directly into the blood. Now all these glands are situated in proximity to these 6 chakras in our body. These are not scientific. This is metaphysical. This is in our scripture, an age-old study done by scriptural experts. So accordingly, everywhere there is solar plexus here. There are gonadal plexus. Everywhere there are hundreds of nerves uniting. So where we get energy from we get prana energy from the universe. Now from where we get this energy? It comes from sun. That's why early morning when 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, when the sun comes, immediately our heartbeat increases. Adrenal and cortisol are the hormones that are released in the blood state. Instantly we get up. After that we go and get up at 8 o'clock, that's a different matter. But if you see birds and all chirping, there's a circadian rhythm which is happening because of these photons from the sun. These are 7 chakras like that, step down transformers. They absorb energy and then distribute it. And there are 72,000 nadis, which are prana channels in body, which are invisible. You cannot see them. But if you see, there is a truth in acupuncture, isn't it? Acupuncture, there are certain centers, if you stimulate, there's a big science, medical science of acupuncture in China. This prana vibration settle around 130 per minute. This is not a fact which is mentioned many places because you cannot observe it. But I have experienced these vibrations, and how you experience it, where you will experience it, because you put hand anywhere, you will either get a pulse or you will get a breathing vibration around 20, pulse you will get around 70. Apart from that, you can't get any vibratory note. But if you see around 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, you will see the air column in the pharynx and larynx, it hits the upper palate. Ultimately, all vibration will be transmitted to the air which is there in this column. And that comes to around 130 per minute. So though we cannot see, there are indirect evidence like we cannot see electricity, but we can see the bulb lit. Now where is consciousness, or some call it soul, Atma, Brahman, whatever you call it. The names are given by us. They are not born with the name. Now coming to Advaita Vedanta, what it says is consciousness is all pervading. It's formless, omnipotent, omnipresent reality which is neither created nor destroyed. Since it is endless and it is neither created nor destroyed, there is no birth or death for a person who is realized. For us, for a person who is the body, there is birth. Its beginningless, endless, cannot be seen or felt by our five senses. It is the only reality, and phenomenal world is Maya or illusion. It is the foundational existence of whole universe. Consciousness is not inside us, but we are in the consciousness. You always say something like Atma, Paramatma, or the energy is inside us. It is never like that. If you see these vessels, we are like this. And there is air inside, air outside. Now you break this pot, will you know which air was inside and which was outside? No, the air was never inside. Only the boundaries of this pot made it outside and inside. So this is what is happening as far as the consciousness in us is concerned. It is neither inside, it is everywhere. So what happens is when we are gone, this is broken. Nothing goes anywhere, everything remains the same. Only your physical body is gone. Now if you fill this with water and keep it under the moonlight or sunlight, you will see 10 suns in all the 10 pots. So this is like a reflected consciousness of Advaita. If you read this and practice this, you can see the Almighty in all of us. That's why in every religion it is saying we are formed in the image of God, isn't it? So it is like this. So this is what is reflected consciousness about. Now there are four functions of mind: is Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahankara. So Manas is a sensory processing mind. It just gets information from everywhere. 90% of this information is not useful to us. Okay? So what the Buddhi takes these filters, it knows and decides. Suppose we have to go from A to B. There are three ways. Now one is the shortest way, other B, but it is very crowded and a lot of traffic is there. The other one is the longer one, but it is very. So our Buddhi tells us which one to take based on the how quickly we have to reach. If you have to reach quickly, then we will take the shortest possible. Now the Chitta is I'm just telling you how to differentiate this in your own mind. Otherwise this just becomes theoretical, isn't it? Now Chitta is a storage of impression, like you had gone about 2 years back and there was huge traffic, you were delayed by 2 hours. So you thought that this is not a good way to go, I will take another. That is where your Chitta or your deep impression in your memory has come. Ahankara, ego, is individuality and ego. These are the four functions of the mind. Now what is the difference between Manas and Buddhi? Manas is your conscious mind and Buddhi is your wisdom faculty. It will take just 5 more minutes. Chitta is the subconscious mind in scientific terms. On the floor of Chitta are stored impressions like memories, likes, dislikes, desires, habits in dormant form, which are different from all of us. Whenever any of these likes, dislikes, samskaras are triggered, they become vrittis, subconscious thoughts, and samskaras get triggered due to ahankara. Now, this ego is false identity, which is the false knowledge of the self. That is, we keep considering ourselves other than our true self. In the state of ego, Manas keeps continuously running under the control of this subconscious. So we continuously behave according to our conditioned mind. We don't behave according to what is required at that particular time.